Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on my Nutrient Nirvana channel. I hope you're all well. Some of you might know I like to, I suppose, boast really that I've not had a cold or a flu for 19 years. As you know, I run a herbs and supplements company, and I take my health very, very seriously. And a couple of weeks ago, I went to bed feeling absolutely fine, no problems. Woke up the next morning feeling dreadful, and this was quite a shock to my system. So I got straight away. I got onto the vitamin C. Started taking vitamin C every hour or so, and within maybe six to 8 hours, I felt absolutely fine again. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, absolutely fine. Friday, bang, it came back. And I was pretty mystified, if I'm honest with you. I didn't know what was going on. And since then, I've been reading that a certain mobile network has been turned on quite a lot in England over the last few days and weeks. And now I'm wondering if that's got anything to do with it. Who knows? Possibly. Anyway, I'm feeling a little bit better now, but I was feeling very sort of lethargic, low energy, which is very unlike me, with a slight headache, constant headache, some blocked sinuses, etc. So it's very strange. Anyway, I'm on the mend now, thankfully, and I've got a guest with me today. Some of you might already know him because he's very well known on YouTube. Mark Bajerski is an international speaker, author, spiritual teacher, and the founder of the Pure Energy Healing Academy. So without further ado, here's Mark. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's an absolute honour, mate. It's a privilege. I've been watching you on and off for many years on your YouTube channel, and it's a very uplifting experience listening to you talk. So I'm thrilled to have you on. So many questions I've got for you. I don't know, were you listening to my little intro there at all? Because I know you yourself have been quite vocal about what's been going on with a certain mobile network and possible radiation sickness. Perhaps you could just give us your thoughts on what you think there.
Well, thank you for having me on, and thank you everybody who's here watching now. It's a privilege and an honor to be on. I don't actually find myself uplifting these days because of all the darkness that we're trying to bring to light, almost to those that are scratching their heads, wondering what's going on this journey. More and more people are becoming aware of narcissistic personalities, even to the point where we're on a point of the battle between light and dark, and it's becoming more obvious every day. So I don't find myself that enlightening anymore or uplifting. I find myself actually questioning myself every day, thinking, oh my God, I'm meant to be a healer, I'm meant to be a speaker, uplifting, helping people. And I actually feel like all I'm doing is putting fear into people. But hey ho, that's the way it is. If this is the direction I'm meant to be in, and that's what I'm doing. So I to start off with, many years ago, I heard a guy called Barry Trower, and everybody should look him up. And Barry Trower used to work for the military industrial complex, and he's a fascinating gentleman in so many ways. I love him, and there's so many people out there like Mark Steele and all that, but Barry is a gentleman, an absolute gentleman. Doesn't charge for his work at all, and that's always kind of integrity, of course, and amazing. And I started listening to him talking about Poland. I was interested in that, and talking about all the 4+1G and so on, and explaining that in his military training, the devious people who work behind the military industrial complex were practicing using this Wi-Fi as targeted weaponized systems. And he was mentioning young children, and he was mentioning pregnant women. And at that point, he turned away from it and started becoming basically one of the first, people who spoke out about the military industrial complex. And I found it fascinating. I'd listened to so many of his lectures, and something resonated. Something resonated. One of the things he said was, if somebody's walking across the road from you and you shoot them with a gun, you can see who shot them because they're holding a gun. If you're using a military weaponized system and you send that frequency to that person and give them a heart attack, then it's the person who's just having a heart attack. So this is how powerful this is. And people think it's like Star Wars, it's the future, but it's actually there. It's all there to be seen. The one thing that I have noticed is, why was it that everybody started getting ill? And why was it that they were putting all the 5G towers up at the same time? These two were happening at the same time. And I drove through the whole of Europe, and I got to Italy, and I said it in one of my podcasts. I can't believe how many towers they are, and how many on the towers are these 5G units. There's literally 50 to 100. And the closer I got to Venice, the more and more there were. It was like, why here? Why here? And then a few days later, a friend of mine from Venice was saying everybody's getting sick here. And I'm like, yeah, right. This makes absolute bloody sense. And every time I went past towers, some were just towers, and others, I started getting this pain, front lobe pain, side ear. And like, and then when I went past it, it disappeared. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. You know, I'm a healer. I know what energy is. I feel energy on people. I know whether they're happy, whether they're sad, whether they're sick, whether they've got cancer, whether it doesn't matter what they've got. I can feel that energy because I've worked for 2 decades in that energy frequency. So I can normally say to people, I can feel your pancreas. There's an issue there. Oh, you're amazing. No, it's just that I feel that energy there, and I've got used to that feeling. I can feel you've got heartbreak. I can feel you've got this. So these feelings that you pick up, I didn't know straight away what this pain was. And then the more I would get into this, more I started feeling 5G phones, the more I realized there's a connection here. And thus I started talking about it before the pandemic, saying something's not right. And then soon as the pandemic started, all these towers started appearing everywhere. I mean, I thought everybody was meant to be inside. I thought this was a pandemic. Like these millions upon millions of towers are being built at this particular time. So when they told us we couldn't get out of the house, then when we did get out of the house, because we might have had a certain meeting that we had to go to, like, Jesus Christ, all these towers are put up everywhere. So that you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out something's not right, and thus my hypothesis, my theory, started becoming more and more traction. More and more people were talking about it then, and from that point on, it was like, okay, I mean, I bought a house since then. I will not buy a house anywhere near a tower, nowhere near. And I've had opportunities to buy plenty of properties that we looked at. And if there was a tower anywhere near, not a chance. I wouldn't even consider going anywhere near it. That's how much I feel. I went to Bali. I was going to live in Bali until they put up all these towers there. And you'll I don't know if you know, but a lot of people saw me leave, and I said, this is horrific what they're doing there. They're everywhere. So, you know, like now that people are starting to realize, because systematically the 5G is getting stronger and stronger and turned on more and more. And I think what they probably figured out was, if they turn it on too much, it's going to shock the whole system and everybody is going to be sick at once, and they need an excuse. And now that's what's happening now. So the counter argument is, oh, it's another virus. And I did make a video. And on that video many years ago, when all this started, I can't find the video now of the woman that I saw walking on the street, and a friend filmed her. And this woman was a nurse. She was in her 50s. And the woman filming her said, go on, tell them what's just happened. She says, I've just left the hospital. and I've left because I don't know whether she got fired or whether she just left. But she worked at the radiation department. She dealt with people with radiation sickness, because it does happen. People get radiation sickness, and she started measuring people's radiation levels, and she said they were off the charts. She went to a boss and said, "Hey, this isn't a virus. This is radiation poisoning." And she was outed. She was gone. Get rid of her. Get rid of her. She's gone. So I saw that video, and I've asked people, please, if you can find it, send it to me, because I'd like to share it again. I'd like to actually find that nurse. If she's watching this now, please, I'd like to do a podcast with you and talk to you. But the point being, I don't need proof. I know it's real because my clients, my friends, everybody around is now getting this kind of sickness, which it comes and goes.
I don't think it's ever been safe, this technology, prior to the 4+1 mobile network. I can remember back when I was an estate agent in my 20s. That's when mobile phones were quite a new technology, and I was on my mobile phone every day, 7 or 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours a day. And quite often I would finish my day and I'd have a sore ear and a buzzing sensation in my ear. And that's probably back from 3G or whatever. So I don't think, Wi-Fi and all this technology, I don't think it's completely safe. I suppose really we should try and talk about solutions to this problem as much as we possibly can, in terms of things like Lugol's iodine, of course, is the most important nutrient in terms of protecting yourself from radiation. I've upped my iodine recently. I mean, from your point of view, Mark, as a healer, what would you suggest in terms of solutions? I know, obviously, not living near a tower is a really good one. That's the most obvious one. But as you've said, as you've alluded to, they're going up in droves at the moment everywhere. There's so many of them around us. So what are some of the things that we can try and use to protect ourselves from this 4+1?
Well, it's a great question, because every day I'm, trying new methods. Iodine is definitely one of them. I've upped up mine as well. But I think the most important thing for me is to take control of my own life. And if, you're watching this now, you're the only one who can really sort this out. No government's going to help you. No teacher's going to teach you anything, because, I can share whatever I want with you. But if you don't utilize that information, then it's wasted. So for me, I have on my desk here, I've got shungite. I wear shungite. I wear Silicon Valley, aka terahertz. These are crystals that mess with that energy frequency, so it's not affecting you as much. So I don't know whether it's absorbing or it has an effect that just, I don't know what it does to it, but I feel better. So if I've got shungite next to me and I put my phone there, it doesn't seem to affect me half as much. It's like, okay, there's something happening here that is definitely working. I don't know the science behind it, but I can definitely tell you it definitely helps, and helps all my clients. So I put shungite in the room. I put them in all four corners of each room. So I've got shungite in all four corners of the room, little tiny pieces. They don't have to be huge pieces. And I carry some around with me from day to day. I've got pieces all over here. I do videos on them. So that's something you can look at. But there's other things you can do. You can switch your phone off on plane mode until you really need to ring somebody, or you need to check your phone. Limit yourself to the computer, like here. And there's also things that you can do to cleanse your body. You can have baths. And you can go into Mother Earth where there is no 5G and put your feet on the floor. That is a massive healer to your body as well. You can go to the sea. Sea has a great energy. The salt and the minerals in the sea, they help, absolutely. But ultimately, I think it's very, very difficult, and I think it will be in the future, if it keeps getting turned up, if the Starlink gets switched on fully, if we're going to be walking around in a toxic soup, and I don't think there's going to be any kind of full solution. It's only management, that we're going to manage ourselves, but we're not going to be able to protect ourselves fully when they switch it up too high. I think the answer is that we need to talk about it now. We need to start telling each other that you've not got a flu, mate. That's radiation poisoning, and one of the radiation poisoning effects, the causes, is this flu-like symptoms that keeps coming back and forth. You can also get pains in your ears. You can get pains in your eyes. You can get dryness of your chest. All sorts of stuff. Then your nose can run because of the effects, the cause effect. So it's trying to clear out the radiation, the heavy metals, the poisons, and of course you can clear your body of heavy metals with as much. Well, you probably know I'm always drinking teas, which are good for clearing out heavy metals in the body.
Yeah, brilliant. Something that I use for that is what I'm drinking now, which is fulvic minerals. Have you come across fulvic before, Mark?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's brilliant stuff for pulling the metals out, and plus you're getting all the trace elements that used to be in the soil that we got from the vegetables that we ate. But unfortunately, because of modern industrial farming methods now, that we just don't get those trace minerals and all that sort of stuff anymore, unfortunately. So fulvic's a great way of getting around that situation. You mentioned when you were saying that earlier, you mentioned about getting out into nature. I think that's a brilliant idea. That's one of the ways that we can combat this problem that we're talking about at the moment. You're obviously protected by trees. If you're walking in the woods, you're protected by trees. That's a really good thing you can do. I grow my own food. I've got 2 allotments, so I'm often down there. So I do try and spend as much time as I can in nature. Vitamin N is what I refer to it as, vitamin nature. It's one of the best nutrients that you can get. But yeah, it is a major problem at the moment. I can see that now. And the one other thing I'll say about the 4+1 is that they promised us that everything would be much quicker with 4+1, and it's all been turned on now. I haven't noticed any difference.
It's all bollocks. Sorry
yeah, no, that's fine, mate. That is, I think that's the right word you used there.
Yeah.
I think it is bollocks. I haven't noticed any improvements on that front. Not that there really needed to be anyway, to be honest with you. I mean,
that's exactly what Barry Trower said years ago. Why do we need it any faster? It's fast enough.
Exactly.
It's all garbage. But then again, you get the techie guys talking to you saying, "Hang on, we need to download, upload, and we need this, we need that." It's like, yeah, all right, whatever. And they get excited. The young guys who are the techie ones, they know it all. And okay, fair comment then. Can't argue with that. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, though, it's amazing how they can fool humanity just by a few words.
Well, they've been doing it for thousands of years, so they're masters at it, aren't they?
Absolutely.
I suppose, really. I mean, do you see more people waking up now, Mark?
Yeah, to a point I do, but then when it really comes to doing anything else, there's a difference between waking up and actually taking action. That's the problem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm personally, I'm not one for protesting your enemies or petitioning your enemies. I don't think that ever really solves anything. If you've got a problem that's been caused by the government, then why on earth would you ask them to, they're not going to stop doing it because you protest what they've already implemented. It rarely works like that.
And not just that, though. Once you're in it, you're in it. It's hard to get out of it. Look at us. It's hard for us to get rid of our computer and our phone. So we're all hypocrites to a degree because we need the technology. So this is their argument. That's their well, okay, that's your argument. So I'm using it. So who am I to say anything? I'm a hypocrite. You've got a point, but if you've got a push bike, and that push bike's got an issue, and if you start going too fast, the chain falls off, it gets stuck, and then you'll fly off the bike, right? If I know there's something wrong with the bike, I can't get another bike anywhere. That's the only bikes we can get. Then I'm going to tell people, don't go too fast on that bike. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. let's try to lighten the mood very slightly.
Totally.
Okay, so there's somebody that's very, very interested to the point of obsession, really, with natural health. I'd be very interested to learn about your approach to natural health, in terms of what you're eating, if you supplement at all, and just your general approach in your
Right.
personal life.
Well, I'm a bit of a Don Tolman fan, and Don Tolman was one of the original healers, whole food healers. So I'm not a massive fan of tablets. I'm more of a fan of food, and I try to get all my supplements in real food, in real medicine. So I have a farm at the moment, and we grow all our own vegetables, and we have 300 mango trees. We've got, I think 10 fig trees, 20 oranges, and we've got everything. Cherimoyas, you name it, we've got everything. So I believe in the magic half hour. So I like to eat my fruit from the tree. So if I pull a vegetable up, I like to eat it within half an hour, because I believe it carries an energy, which is a life force, that it gives you an extra energy in your body. So not only are you receiving the medicine, you're receiving the life force that is attached to the fruit and vegetables. So if I'm not feeling too good, which is very, very rare, I think I eat very healthy compared to most people. I haven't had sugar, refined sugar, in years and years. Some people eat meat. I'm not so into meat now, so I stopped eating meat 8 years ago. Not that I'm against anybody eating meat or anything. Everybody should be free to choose what works for them, because I've heard horror stories of people, saying that I stopped eating meat and I became sick and ill. And I get it. I can't speak for everybody, but it worked for me. And I feel healthy. And when everybody else is getting sick, I wasn't.
Mm.
So
It's very interesting. I'll just pick you up on something you said there. That was very interesting about eating fresh foods, whole foods, and having that sense that after half an hour or so, or after the fruit is picked from the tree or whatever, that it's starting to lose that energy.
yes,
Well, minerals live forever. They go on forever, minerals, but vitamins die off the minute that you pick something from the tree. So that stands to complete reason. And
wow,
obviously, living in England, if you buy an orange, it was probably grown, I don't know, Honduras or maybe Spain if you're lucky. It's been picked and then transported to this country, where it's then put in a warehouse. For maybe a couple of weeks, it stayed there. Then it goes to the supermarket, and we're talking maybe 4 or 6 weeks before somebody actually purchases and buys that. I would imagine that the vitamins have largely died off in that fruit, or that
right.
vegetable,
It,
which is why I say to people, it's so important now to try your best to try and grow your own food, grow your own fresh produce. If you haven't got a garden, try and get an allotment. If you can't, I had to wait about 6 years to get an allotment. I was on a waiting list for a very long time. But you can grow food on your balcony if you live in a flat. You can grow microgreens,
yeah.
sprouted seeds, all those sort of things. You can do it. Quite often, people will say to me, "Oh, but I don't have the time." But surely it has to be priorities. I would have
Well,
thought,
it's only priority when they get sick.
Yeah, exactly. By which time, sometimes it can be too late. So,
Exactly.
so it really is. We do have to change our mindset. I've found the farmers' protests. Have you seen the farmers protesting
Yeah.
all over Europe?
Yeah.
You see, now from my point of view, I've been a kind of, for want of a better, nicer word, I've been slagging off the farmers for years because of all the sprays that they use on the crops, and
Yeah.
the lack of crop rotation,
Yeah.
the mega fields of monocrops, etc. It's totally anti-nature. And I'm finding it very hard to back these farmers and their protests, because I don't know enough about it, if I'm honest with you, but they've kind of dug themselves into their own hole, by feeding off the government. And now they're in trouble and they're not making any money. And they've got all these climate change agendas rules to kind of stick by with the government, and it's all fallen apart for them.
Yeah.
It's just another reason why we really need to get back to the garden and get back to nature for the reasons that we've been saying.
And as you've noticed, they've realised that, and they're trying to hub us into not so smart cities where we're completely in the toxic soup of radiation, and they're trying to put us into apartments smaller and smaller, so we don't do that. Everything that they're doing is anti-Christ, anti-Mother Nature. So kill the animals, because the animals show us how we should eat. How does an animal eat? When it's in nature, it eats the food that grows there in front of it. So this is how we should be eating. But
and I mean, animals as well. If animals become sick in the wild, they know instinctively what to go and eat to heal themselves.
Yeah.
And I reckon we probably as a species knew how to do that thousands of years ago, but we've lost that ability a long time ago now.
Well, I didn't think we lost it. It was burnt away.
What do you mean by burnt away, Mark?
I think anything that was, if you look back on history, they talk about the burning of the witches, which were actually the healers of the world. Anybody, the burning of the buildings with the historical texts of the ancient wisdom, all burnt down, right? Everything. So to me, they don't want those who want hell on earth. Seem to be getting it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be working for them.
Yeah. Okay. I have to ask you this because I've followed you for a while. I'd like to understand your approach to healing and how you got started on that journey as well. I'd be very interested to hear about that.
Well, it was a school teacher who came for, let's say, an angel reading, because I was playing about with angel cards. I had no understanding about any of these things. And when I'd finished reading these 3 cards, which I offered for free of charge as a bit of a joke in my shop, I had a set of Doreen Virtue angel cards there, and it says, choose a card and read your card. And some people coming up to me asking me what it meant, and I'd start talking about the card, saying, well, this is what it says, and I guess it means this. And before I know it, they're saying, how did you know that my brother's ill at the moment? I'm like, where does it say it in the card? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just sorry. No, it's true. He's sick. I'm like, and so it was like weird how things were starting to come out of my mouth. And, my first mentor that I didn't know was going to be my mentor sat down, and I started talking about her daughter. Because she said, "Oh, could you tell me what this card means?" And I didn't realize that she was the psychic queen of Ireland at the time, so she was taking the piss almost, just to see. But the school teacher was interesting, because when I'd finished reading, she said, "Oh my God, you've just healed me." And I said, what do you mean? She said, "You've just healed me." And I'm like, "No, I'm not a healer. And I just read your card." She said, "No, you've just healed me. I can tell you now, I'm healed." I'm like, I was really confused, and I said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not a healer." And she looked at me in the eyes and she says, "What could be more beautiful? To heal somebody and not realize you healed them. Isn't that the most purest form of healing?" And I'm like, I was blown away by those words, thinking, is this real? And that's how I started on the spiritual path. And as soon as I thought that, teachers have started to appear. I didn't look for them. They just appeared.
Yeah.
And I started, getting excited, because, all of this synchronicity was just, I could write 50 books about the synchronicities that were happening, strange, weird things that were happening. And it was like I was brought on a path without even knowing. And it's not that I wanted it. It's just that, wow, this is exciting. And then something else happened. And before you know it, I'm like practicing the healing technique. And I like some techniques that I was seeing. Most of it was self-taught, but I was just learning from, one day I decided to, okay, now I can't run this shop anymore because there's too many people outside the shop wanting a reading. So I ended up closing the shop and getting my first little tiny room. And from there, I started, practicing, healing, learning techniques, learning from shamans, learning from healers, learning from mediums, all sorts of spiritual healers, and watching and seeing what felt right. I'm very stubborn, so I don't just follow somebody if they tell me that this is the right way. I try things and see what happens. So I write things down, and eventually, from what I did 2 decades ago to how I heal now has totally changed. So was I right then? Am I right now? I don't think we're ever right at any particular time or wrong. We just do what we do. And the evidence is your client. If the client gets up and says, wow, I'm healed, or a child, a child isn't sick anymore or hasn't got this so-called disease anymore after you've done a healing session, and the mother's told you this, and doctors always say, well, some things can't be explained. There comes a point where you start to think there must be something in this, right? There must be something. If everybody was saying, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing that for? I don't even feel anything. What are you doing? I'd have stopped. I wouldn't have even done it. But I didn't get that, and I said it. I'd be the first person to throw the towel in if somebody said you're a bit of a jerk, aren't you? Or what you're doing, you're pathetic. It's not even working. I would have walked away straight away. I swear to God, I was like, what the hell did I just do there? I got pulled into this nonsense, but that never happened. It was like grown men, German men saying, I don't know what you've just done, but I feel better. So I was learning as I was going along. So I was the pupil as well. I was learning from my clients. So for 2 years, I didn't charge a penny. 2 years, everybody came for free. Anybody with cancer for 3 years were coming. So I got to learn so much through gifting and through learning, because that was my learning process. Like you go to college or wherever you do, this is my college. This is my training. And eventually then I went on to, people were just leaving me, crystals as a gift, plants. People would leave money downstairs. No, you have to take this money. Until I said, okay, now it's time to make this my career, and I have to pay the mortgage. I have to feed my child and my wife. So then I started charging 25 euros for an hour and 20 minutes. And as the years went on, I charged a little bit more and a little bit more. And yeah, I got to the stage where I was kind of fully booked for, I don't know, months and months and months. And people had come from all over the world to have healing sessions. It wasn't like I was a miracle worker, but I was helping people in certain degrees where some people would say, you know what, I've traveled all over. I've been here, Munich, I've been to London, I've been to all the doctors I could find. I come to you and have an hour and a half, and I've never felt better in 20 years. That is the conversations that were spoken to me after a healing session. And there was nobody more surprised than me. So I'm not a healer that thinks he's a healer. And if I did a healing session now, I'd still be a bit nervous. Like, I really hope it's going to be fine. Oh, shut up, clear your mind, and get back to the healing, get back to the feeling. And so, yeah.
So it's something that you've devoted yourself to, and you've studied, and you've worked really hard at, and you've also been guided by the universe with synchronicities. But is the ability to heal something you think that somebody is born with? Can we all do it, or are there just a few chosen people? What would you say?
That's a great question. I think if you were to sit down a group of children, boys and girls, at the age of 6 years old, and start to help them heal each other, show them healing, which is called love, and hugging, and just placing your hands over them and giving your love to that person, and you carried on doing that, you'd find that out of all of those children's experiences, they'd get a really good experience. Now, out of all of those children, maybe only 2 out of 20 or 30 might go on to become a healer. So it's not that they can't heal, it's just that what they want to do in their life might not be a healer. So yes, everybody has the same ability. We all have a gift of healing, because it's a universal energy that we pull through us and to give to the client. Now, we can at times, and many healers go wrong, went wrong, whereby they were using their own energy to heal people. And that makes you sick. It makes you tired. It makes you exhausted. So what makes a good healer is to step out of the way and allow the energy to flow through, which is universally given freely if asked. And just ask means basically not, I'm not asking for it, but I am stepping out of the way. I'm clearing my body, my mind, my thoughts, everything to become a clear, pure, silent, peaceful vessel. And in that action, where one hand is blasting against the client and the other hand is asking for the energy. If you turn, so you'll see on many pictures of Jesus or all of them, one hand here, receiving, giving. It's something again which has been burnt away, destroyed, but it does work. It actually works. It's a natural process, like breathing air in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Wow. So is this this healing with love? Is it love, the energy of love, that is the mechanism, or the no?
No, it's not. It's no. I mean, the word love. What is it? It's hard to explain what love means, because love means something different to everybody. When I say like when you become a vessel and you stop thinking, what happens when you stop thinking is your mind opens up to receiving. When you start thinking, you close the mind off, so nothing can come through. The thought is the only thing that you're focused on. So you have to clear your mind. So a good healer won't think about anything; they will just receive. So it's not, if like, one thing that I teach as the Pure Energy Healing Academy founder is never give healing if you're sick, if you feel angry, if you feel stressed, if you're worried, if you're bitter, any badness, any illness, any negativity. Don't heal. Just don't heal, because you're wasting your energy, and your client's not going to get what they come for. So you should only heal when you're feeling really good, and you should be going for healing and receiving healing or giving yourself healing to get yourself back up again. So it's vital that this room here, what I teach people in this room, is that everything in this room that I see is equal in energy. What does that mean? If somebody who hates me brings me something and I put it in this room and I think that person really hates me, my focus will be on the worst thing in that room. If I don't like the color of one wall, I'm going to be thinking, I could think I don't like the color of, so anything that distracts us, even your fingernails, if you don't cut them nice, if you're giving a healing session and you see your fingernails and they've grown too much, you're now thinking about your fingernails, which is the distraction. If you haven't washed yourself and cleaned yourself and you think, oh my God, I smell a little bit under my arms, it's finished, it's gone. It doesn't work the same. So we try to take that, all of that nonsense away by putting ammunition into what we do. Make the room perfect, be free from negativity, be as healthy as you can. And that's when the perfect healing session happens. So when people say, how come you're full up at London when you're doing healing sessions, and the 3 people next to you might have only had 5 or 6 people that day, and you were full right the way up? Why is that? And I say, because I prepare, I cleanse the room, I cleanse myself. I don't think about anything other than my work, in the sense of the healing work. And once I begin, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not worried. If I haven't got a client, I don't worry about anything. I meditate at that point till a client comes. So I try to be free from the what's happening out there, which is all wrong. And I try to create something in here, which is all right.
It's very interesting. I've actually known a few Reiki healers in my time, and I've often found it quite odd that 1 or 2 of them have had their own kind of issues and mental health problems, and I've often wondered, if somebody is suffering themselves with certain issues, are they really able to heal others?
Well, what happens is, and I found this often, and I used to like scratch my head and kind of giggle at times. Not so funny, really, because I'm like, this woman walks up to another lady who's the healer and says, I need a healing session. And I'm looking at the healer thinking, she's sick. I'm looking at the woman who's come for a healing session who doesn't look that sick. And right away, when the lady lies down, when she gets up, she's worse, but the healer feels better. Why? Because the lady lying down has healed the woman who's the healer.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Okay. So one of the most common ailments, if you like, or problems that people come to me with is probably at the moment stress, anxiety, depression, those sort of things. So if somebody was to approach you with stress or depression, how would you go about healing them?
Well, I think a lot of the times now, what used to be is no longer. It's changed. So as a healer now, I'm just the founder of Pure Energy Healing. I teach. I don't heal anymore. So, but for me, I would find it far more difficult to understand what's going on, because you have to understand that you've got different kind of poisonings now. You've got foods which are non-foods. You know, you've got your parasites which are causing a lot of damage to people, a lot of emotional stress, a lot of suicidal tendencies, a lot of addictions. So you've got that kind of eating non-foods and crap, which is then a physical thing, which is a parasite in the whole of the body, millions of them, thousands of them. So that's one thing. And then you've got your phone, which is now causing this radiation, which is causing, addiction to the phone, which is making people think differently and act crazy and so on. So things have changed so much. So it wouldn't be wise for me to say what I would do, because I'm not so sure what I'd do now. And I kind of look at all the other healers saying, you know what? I think I had it quite easy back then. I don't think it was as hard to heal people back then. Now you guys are actually now having to heal people with things that are in their bodies, that were forced into their bodies, millions of people with poisons that now they can't get rid of, and their DNA's change, and like, I'm glad I'm not a healer anymore, because I'm not so sure if I would have the answer. So it's a difficult one for me, because them three categories alone are wow, really challenging.
That's an amazingly honest and astute response, I would have to say there. I suppose one way to look at it maybe would be that at the end of the day, there's only three ways that somebody can die. It's either nutritional deficiency or toxic poisoning or physical accident. There isn't really any other way.
Bang on.
Yeah, so I suppose from that perspective, if you approach it like that, I guess, yeah. Anyway, so why is moldavite? I've been reading about moldavite recently, and I know it's a crystal that you're very, very keen on. It's your favourite, I believe.
Yeah.
Why would you? Why is it your favourite?
Well, I've worked with so many crystals that were very gentle, and like, to most people, like, oh, I didn't really feel that much, to working with moldavite, and it kind of blew people away, and what their experiences were after a healing session and thereafter. And my experience was the reason why I decided that I needed to pursue moldavite. My first mentor at a show here in Marbella, after I'd done the 2 days, which were very successful for me, and I was very joyful. It was my birthday, 20th of October, and the show was the 19th and 20th, the 21st, I think, something like that. Anyway, so after the show, she was kind enough to buy a piece of moldavite from Joelle, who was one of the local crystal sellers at the show. Joelle's a beautiful soul. And I went round, and she picked this moldavite up, and she says, just hold your hand out. And I held my hand out, and she put it in my hand, and she says, close your eyes. What do you feel? So I closed my eyes, and then all of a sudden I felt my body lift, like I was floating. And I opened my eyes, and I went, what the bloody hell is that? And she says, I knew it. And I'm like, whoa, but it wasn't my body. It was energy. And the only way I can describe it is, I remember having this same feeling when I was poorly once as a younger boy, and I was given some pharmaceutical medication, and I felt my body myself lifting out of my body. So it was a weird experience, right? It was just
probably trying to run away from the medication.
probably running away from the Moldavite as well. It was like mad. And from then on, I don't know. I'd cry. I'd get boiling hot. I'd get freezing cold. I'd start seeing things that I've never seen before. I started seeing colours that I couldn't describe. I tried to write them down years ago. I saw images. I saw almost what looked like snippets of a film of beings. Like what am I like before I'd do meditation, and I'd be sat with my eyes closed, and all of a sudden this image of a woman walking out of the water who looked like an Indian lady with her hair up, gifting me something. Now I can recognize that. I can see what that is. And she even said her name. She said Shanti, and I didn't even know what that meant. And when I asked my teacher, she because I heard some music and it went Om Shanti, and I went, "Who's this woman? Who's Shanti?" And she said, No, it means peace. Right. So I'm thinking it's a woman's name. I had no idea. So like now I understand what that is. And I'm having like these experiences, but with human beings that I can recognize as a human. Holding Moldavite, I was getting things like that's not human and that's a being floating. That's a floating being, and that's not a body. That's a see-through body. It's almost like not blue, but a weird color of, is that blue or purple or silver? Can't explain it. So, and what I was feeling and what I'm seeing, this communication, not through a mouth talking, but through speaking to me. Like now I started writing things down. And I am actually at this moment still writing the book that I started writing 2 decades ago, and it's called The Power of Moldavite. And I've probably handled more Moldavite than most people in the world. And I've worked with it and sold it and gifted it to more people in the world. I've worked with Moldavite on people that these are people who are at levels you couldn't imagine on, working at CERN, working as scientists who come for sessions with me, and they were like blown away. So if anybody was like tough, anybody was like, I don't believe in this, it's all garbage, I've come here because I've been told to, because I'm kind of intrigued, but I had probably about 30 to 100 journalists, right, to debunk me, right? Nothing more beautiful than having a journalist saying what they can't say, but trying to say, but they can't say on paper when they're writing for magazines, saying, I don't know whether I believe this, but this is what happened. But we can't really say, yeah, you can't say it because you're going to look stupid because you went for a psychic reading that you thought you were going to debunk this guy and have a reading, but he told you things that that he couldn't know because you didn't even give him his name. They didn't even get a fake name, even though it didn't make any difference, because I used to tell people, don't give me your name. When you come for a reading, you don't give me your name at all. Just give me a false name, right? Because that would then prove that I didn't know who they were, right? So I was very keen on the last thing I ever wanted. Imagine being a psychic or claiming to be, and being out as a fraud and a liar. That was the scariest thing for me. That like my life would end at that. I'd be so frightened of everybody thinking that. So I did everything I could to say, hey, look, don't tell me who you are. I used to close my eyes as well. I would never look at anybody because that's cold reading. So anybody who came to oust me, I'd have my eyes closed. I wouldn't look at them. So I wouldn't be this nodding or no or yes. I'd just read. And when I finished reading, I'd look up. And, I can honestly say that people were taken aback, and lots of people wrote about my work. Lots of people. So I was like, did I get that right? Was any of that okay? Like, yeah. I always remember this one young lad sat in the room because he brought his dad, And they didn't say who they were, but the lad said, is it okay if I sit in the room? I said, yeah, you do what you want. Is it okay if I record? Do what you want. I've got nothing to hide. I'm just going to do my best. I'm not saying I'm going to get anything right. I'm just going to do my best. When do I pay? You pay if you're happy. You pay when I'm finished. That's who I am. I'm just a normal guy, just because I'm excited about this. It's really lovely. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. But I hope one day I don't make a fucking mess of what I'm doing, or I hope I don't hurt anybody or anything like that. So I read for this guy, and when this guy finished, he turned to his son. He says, "Yeah, that was about 98% accurate." And the boy looked at me and went, "Thank you." And as they're walking down the stairs, my dad's a scientist. That's why he said it's 98% accurate. And he just looked at me and kept saying, "Thank you," the son. So the son was a believer. The father was a scientist. And he was like, "Thanks for showing my dad that there is something in this field of work." That really,
Wonderful.
Things like that made me so happy. But I've never been one to spout my mouth out and say I'm anything other than just somebody who tries his best.
Yeah. Okay. Just one final thing on Moldavite. On a practical level, how do you actually work with it? How do you work with it on a practical level?
Well, it depends where you are in your body system. So each body is different. So you can't actually say, "Here's a chart. This is how it works. Here's this. Take it to bed. Don't take it to bed. Do this. Do that." It doesn't work like that, because everybody has deep trauma from children. So the trauma has to be healed, and Moldavite, first of all, has to heal the trauma. That's why you get the Moldavite flush. It clears out the trauma. So that's why you can get hot, you can feel angry, you can feel depressed, you can cry. I had a piece that I cried for 2 hours on a train, no idea why, but my tears are.
But do you have to focus on a particular childhood trauma while you've got them out? No,
you don't need to do anything.
It's going to do the work regardless. Yeah.
Well, not always. Doesn't do the work for everybody. Some people say that they didn't get anything from it. Some people say that it was a talisman for the devil and everything went wrong. So you get different people saying different things. But I recognize with that is that people are sometimes in a bad place. Some people are angry. They want an instant success. They want instant this, and or they want to be famous on TikTok, and all this happened with Moldavite. It's like, this is the demonic, and okay, well, let me watch her in another 6 months. She's at it again with somebody else.
Yeah, it's the same with my favorite healing material, which is magnesium. So magnesium is it's the master mineral. It does so much in the body. And there are so many people out there now with symptoms like restless leg syndrome and heart arrhythmia and hiccups and all these different things that can all be put down to a magnesium deficiency. But quite often I'll say to somebody, try some magnesium. And we make a magnesium blend. So there's 4 different types of magnesium in each capsule. And I'll go back to them a week later and I'll say, "Well, how are you feeling? Do you feel any better, etc.?" And they'll say, "No, I took one and nothing changed."
Yeah, because they've been programmed to that. They've been programmed to run to a shop with a snake running up this column, which is obviously poison, and then they say, "Take these for 3 days," and they want to see an instant fix for 3 days. Yeah, well, you will see a fix for 3 days, fixing the holes that nothing can come out again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what it's all about. It's just it's trying to help people, educate them to life isn't always about a quick fix or take away spirituality or take away health. It doesn't work like that. It's an ongoing process. I'm on a fast, I'm on a diet. It's like, it should be a life process. It should be the journey, not I'm going to do it for 2 weeks. It's like, no, I'm going to actually embrace this and it's going to be my life now.
Yeah, the lifestyle change, definitely.
Totally.
Yeah. Mark, I've loved this. This has been an amazing conversation. I'd love to do it again at some point in the future.
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining me today. What are your plans for the future before we go?
I live from moment to moment. I don't plan my future at all. And that way I can flow in any direction. If I plan my future, it might mean that what was meant to be was stopped and halted for that time. So then the universe has to try again. So now I look up and just say, "Guys, whatever you want, I'm here. I'll listen and I'll flow. And if nothing happens today, I'll enjoy the day off. And then if something happens today, I'll crack on with it.
Well, amazing. Okay. So you mentioned that you're teaching as well. So have you got places available for potential students?
What we do now is all online because of the COVID nonsense and because of all the problems with that. So everything's online. We have 2 beautiful courses which have been said that they're one of the best courses in the world. So yeah, they last for 4 days. And as I said to anybody who's a potential healer who wants to learn this modality, anybody can do it, but don't do it if you're going to just hop on and hop off. It's 4 days. And you've got to take 4 days off. You've got to get some clients together and just watch the videos. And basically, it's self-explanatory. And we spent a lot of money getting this right. We got the experts in. So when you sat down watching each video, you actually feel as if you're in the room with all the other people learning that day. So it's great. It's fantastic. It is.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll link all your information underneath this video. Please check out Mark on YouTube as well, because his channel is fantastic. He does live healing sessions, all sorts going on Mark's channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been absolutely brilliant. I feel better already. I'm healing now. It's been
actually
great.
So am I. So thank you.
Yeah, pleasure, Mark. Okay, cheers. Please like, share and subscribe, everyone. And I'll be back soon with another video. Cheers.